Hey everybody, Eric here, EB Morelia, ready to get back into the swing of things and get some videos out there. And I'm going to do a series of videos on my favorite group of pythons, the carpet pythons. Carpet pythons are by far my favorite of the pythons species. I just love how they look, how they move, the potential that it has for them, the different morphs, the different combos that have been made to date, the localities, bloodlines, etc., etc., etc. There's so much variability within carpet pythons that I'm sure that there is a flavor for you. So in this video in particular, I'm going to break down the complex and I'm going to try to talk about some of the myths that surround carpet pythons. And in later videos, like I said, we'll get into the morphs and the different subspecies and do some natural history stuff on them and where they're from and etc., etc. We'll talk about the different morph combos to date. I'll talk about some of the breedings that I did. I had an awesome 2018 season. The very last clutch that I had just pipped the other day, and it was from a granite zebra to a zebra head granite. I didn't hit any of the super zebra granites, which I was hoping for. But I still got some cool results, and I'll share all those and show you guys some of the some of the cool things that hatched out here in this season. And this year will be the year where I'm gonna really sell carpet pythons. I've been amassing my collection and my colony, if you will, of carpet pythons from carpets that I produced. I think to date, I have pretty much every locality, subspecies, and morph that are available as far as carpet pythons go. So again, I want to share that all with you guys and try to, a lot of people talk about carpet pythons, but I'm going to actually physically show you with my collection and try to put it out there. So some of these myths and some of these misconceptions that have been talked about, and try to make people understand exactly what's going on with this awesome group of snakes. So let's start at the beginning. Carpet python complex. Let's break it down how it goes. So basically, carpet pythons belong to the genus Morelia. Morelia used to encompass a huge group of pythons that basically anything with a prehensile tail and a semi-arboreal would pretty much be Morelia. To date, they sort of moved everything out except for the carpets. You have the green trees and you have the rough scales that remain in the Morelia complex. Carpet pythons being the biggest group in that genus. So let's start at the top. Let's start outside of Australia. The IJ, or Irian Jaya carpet python, as it's called in the hobby. As of late, you'll see people like myself and some others referring to them as Papuan carpet pythons. Regardless of what you call them, it doesn't really matter, but it can get confusing. But the accurate term from where they're from would be Papuan carpet pythons, because they're not coming from Irian Jaya, at least the ones that we're working with in the States. So, should you call them IJs? Should you call them Papuans? I go back and forth. IJs kind of have a cool ring to it, but accurately they are called Papuan carpet pythons. That being said, Morelia spilota harrisoni, probably my favorite of the group. I think that there's a ton of potential when it comes to those guys. Striping, banding. I have a melanistic project that I'm working on. Bright yellow, bright orange, gold looking ones. Just tons of potential when it comes to Irian Jayas and what they do. And they are the only carpet pythons that can be imported into the U.S. As of recently, I've gotten a bunch of different, wild caught ones and captive hatched ones, just to have a lot of variety as far as future, keeping them as diverse as possible as far as bloodlines and all that kind of stuff. So, and you never know when they're going to shut the doors to not ship anymore from Indonesia. So it's kind of like I'm jumping on it while the fire's hot, so to speak. They don't get too big. They stay relatively small. I think maybe 4 feet is probably the biggest that they are. Um, when it comes to breeding them, they're usually the ones that go first because they're more from an area where the temperatures stay pretty consistent for the most part. Whereas as you start to get into Australia and move your way south, you'll see that a lot of these carpet pythons will go through a big drop in temperatures during the winter time. So we're moving to Australia. The next one we have would be the Darwin carpet python, Morelia spilota variegata. Again, back in the day, including myself, would think that they're basically look just like IJs, but now working with them, not the case. They look a lot different. The head is very different. IJs have a big, beefy, chunky head, and Darwin carpets don't have that same head. Some of the color is a little bit different, but for the most part, an awesome group of carpet pythons for sure. Not a lot of people working with Darwins here in the States, except for if they're working with albino. I want to work with both albino and try to selectively breed for striping or banding or color, etc. I think there's a lot of potential, and I have a nice group of those guys to try to do that. And then next one would be the coastal carpet, which is this girl right here, Morelia spilota McDowell. Probably one of the, I would say that the coastal carpets are probably the second most popular when it comes to carpet pythons, and that's probably just because they've been here the longest. You got probably, is that the most? Yeah, the most morphs within the subspecies is within the coastal carpets. A lot of people think that they get huge. This is an adult female, not that big. She's maybe 5-6 feet. She's produced 3 clutches over the years. Again, they're not huge, which we'll get into some of those misconceptions later in the video. Next up, we have, after that, would probably be the most famous of the carpet python complex would be the jungle carpet, Morelia spilota chenii. Yellow and black, you can't really beat that. I mean, there's been a lot of selective breeding that has been done with jungle carpets, and amazing results. There's a whole bunch of different bloodlines out there, and different breeding projects. High yellow, high black. Stripe. People are working on stripes. You got banded. Some people like tipping. Some people don't like the tipping. There's just tons of potential. You got different shades of yellow that people are working with when it comes to jungle carpets. The point is that there's been a lot of selective breeding with jungle carpets, whereas some of the other subspecies don't have that same amount of time that has been invested into selective breeding. That's where I come into play. I'm trying to breed those other subspecies to get some of that selective breeding and get those subspecies up to the same level as what you see with the jungle carpets. You keep moving down. Next up, you have the diamond python. Diamond pythons, Morelia spilota. Probably, in my opinion, maybe one of the prettiest of the carpet pythons. I don't know if there's a lot of selective breeding that can be done with them. I'm sure there is. There's high white, there's high yellow, just different bloodlines of stuff. Diamond pythons are probably the one that if you're going to work with them, you want to know exactly what you're working with, because back in the day, a lot of people crossed them with jungles, and you want to know that you're getting stuff from some of the quote-unquote pure bloodlines that are out there. Diamond python breeders are probably the most strict when it comes to that type of thing, bloodlines and stuff, because I don't know why that is, but the guys that are working with diamond pythons are definitely passionate about keeping those diamond pythons pure, if you will. I do work with a group of them. I keep them in a separate room because they have to be kept a little bit different. than your other carpet pythons. They have to be kept cooler, and they go through huge temp drops during the winter when you're trying to breed them, as opposed to these other subspecies where they don't have to drop down as drastic. Now, I'm not talking like you have to drop them to 50 degrees. I'm just saying that they have to be dropped lower than other carpet pythons. Then you have the inland carpet python, Morelia spilota mccaffei. Whether or not that should be a full species or should remain a subspecies in Morelia spilota, that's still up for debate. There was a thesis that was done a while back that showed that they were 4.9% divergent from the carpet python complex. So does that warrant full species? Some people say yes, some people say no. When they did the paper, the cutoff was 5%, so that's why they remained a subspecies of carpet pythons and Morelia spilota mccaffei. They are amazing, super underrated, very hard to capture in photography, but very impressive animals for sure. I have a group of the different bloodlines here, and I can't wait to, probably in 2019 will be my first year breeding those guys. Super excited about that. Next, you have the Southwestern carpet python, Morelia imbricata, which is a full species. They are separated from the rest of the carpet complex because they're on the west coast of Australia, and you don't have a lot of, with some of the east coast, like you have diamonds and coastals and jungles, and you know, diamonds and coastals integrate in areas, coastals and jungles, you know, integrate, and you're not going to get that with imbricata. And then probably the one that gets lumped into the carpet python complex but is really not a spilota subspecies is the Centralian python, or bredls, if you will. Morelia bredli is a sister species to the carpet pythons, but is not really, like I said, a spilota. It is a full species. It always has been a full species. So if you're breeding Centralian pythons to jags or something like that, you are making hybrids, which nothing wrong with that if that's what you want to do, but just understand that that is considered a hybrid because they are full species. So it would be sort of just like a carpondro if you're breeding a carpet to a green tree, same type of thing. Morelia bredli broke off from carpet pythons about 10 million years ago, and have been separated. The easiest way to think about why they'll never interbreed is because you have Centralian pythons, which come from an area like around Alice Springs in Australia, and basically they're on a desert island that is surrounded by desert, so they really are never breaking out of that area. But cool nonetheless, and they are in the Morelia complex. So they sort of get lumped in with carpet pythons, and people sort of think that they are, but technically they're not. So there you go. That's a breakdown of the carpet python complex, and we'll get into details in later episodes, subspecies by subspecies.